which way would the better way to looking to take and make reality our Olympic boxing and maybe.
The World Boxing Association has officially seized Gervonta Tank Davis's boxing license after a wild and controversial bout against Lamont Roach Jr. earlier this month. The fight, which was meant to be another showcase for Davis, turned into one of the biggest debates in boxing history. But what exactly happened? Was Davis robbed of a win, or was Roach denied his rightful victory? And why did referee Steve Willis's call in the 9th round ignite a firestorm of backlash? Let's break down the drama, the fallout, and what happens next.
No, you guys calm down. Listen to me.
Okay, hey, come on now. Just trying to get it. There you go. That's what you do.
Before we dive in, do me a quick favor. Like this video and subscribe. 98% of you watch without subscribing, and it helps a ton. Done? Awesome. Now let's get into it. Boxing has seen its fair share of controversial decisions, but this might just be one of the biggest in modern history. In an unprecedented move, the World Boxing Association, WBA, has officially seized Gervonta Tank Davis's boxing license, a decision that has left the entire boxing community in shock.
They're going to be going through several issues, and I just don't want them to do it alone. We would like to change the room. We're going to be centered with a journalist who's going to be somehow going through certain topics that are very important in the boxing.
This comes in the aftermath of his highly anticipated showdown against Lamont Roach Jr., a fight that was expected to be a routine title defense, but instead spiraled into controversy that exposed glaring inconsistencies in officiating, judging, and the sport's regulatory oversight. The fight, which ended in a majority draw, has been labeled by many as a blatant robbery, with fans, analysts, and even fellow fighters calling out the WBA for what they see as preferential treatment. The heart of the dispute? A bizarre round 9 incident where Davis took a knee, a moment that should have changed the course of the fight, possibly sealing Roach's victory, but instead became the catalyst for a firestorm of backlash. How did one call from referee Steve Willis ignite one of the biggest controversies in recent memory? Was this an honest mistake, or was there something more sinister at play?
Cards. Judge at the ringside, Eric Marlinski scores it on 115 to 113 in favor of Gervonta Davis. Judges Steve Weisfeld and Glenn Feldman both scored about 114 to 114, even a draw. The decision is a majority draw.
The WBA has been under intense scrutiny for years regarding its alleged favoritism toward high-profile fighters. But this incident has thrown gasoline on an already raging fire. With Davis's reputation, Roach's stolen moment, and the sport's credibility at stake, one question looms large. Is boxing still a fair fight, or is it being dictated by influence, money, and backroom deals? It was the 9th round, a pivotal moment in a fight that had already seen its fair share of back-and-forth action.
So,
Right.
but you say you don't think he willing though.
Whatever. See, but who cares? Like, sweat gonna get in your eye, blood gonna get in your eye.
Yeah, it don't matter.
Spit fuck around and get in your eye. You know what I'm saying? But it's not like you can be like, all right,
No
time
excuse
out,
for
ref.
that.
Hold on, Right. hold on,
Take no
ref.
time out.
You can't do that.
Right. Would you be cool with Steve Willis doing the next fight?
Hell no.
He can't do the next fight.
No, he can't do the next fight.
Lamont Roach Jr., the underdog, had been gaining momentum, applying relentless pressure on Gervonta Davis. Then, suddenly, Davis dropped to a knee. At first glance, it looked like a clear knockdown. Referee Steve Willis immediately began a standing 10 count, a standard procedure when a fighter goes down under the force of a punch. The crowd erupted, some in excitement, others in disbelief. But then, just as quickly as he started the count, Willis waved it off, ruling that there was no knockdown. Confusion spread through the arena. How could that be possible? Had Roach's punch connected or not? Why would a referee begin a count only to change his mind in an instant? The answer, according to Davis and his corner, was grease. Moments after the call, Davis claimed that hair grease from his own head had dripped into his eyes, temporarily blinding him and forcing him to take a knee. His team doubled down on this explanation, insisting that it was an unfortunate but unrelated incident that had nothing to do with Roach's punches.
What you was thinking when Tank did that when he took the knee? What you was thinking when he took the knee?
I can't speak on it.
Can't speak on that?
Yeah.
He did some bullshit though?
I can't speak on it.
No personal opinion, nothing?
The problem, fans weren't buying it. Social media exploded with reactions. Critics immediately pointed out inconsistencies in the explanation. If the grease was truly impairing Davis's vision, why hadn't he shown any signs of discomfort before the knee? Why did he take a knee at the exact moment Roach had landed a clean jab? And why did the referee, who initially recognized it as a knockdown, suddenly change his call without a replay review? Even more damning, footage showed that Davis's corner took the extraordinary step of wiping his face with a towel in between rounds. A move that should have resulted in an automatic disqualification under boxing regulations.
Oh, and that right, but Davis took off some of the steam of the punch, but still, Roach leaned was right. He took a knee. He took a knee.
You take a knee like that, that looks like a knockdown. All right? Back up. Back up. That's a generous call from him.
Did he not take...
This wasn't just a controversial moment. It was a clear break from standard protocol, one that raised serious questions about the integrity of the officiating. As the fight continued, that single call drastically impacted the scoring. Had it been ruled a knockdown, Roach would have likely secured enough points to edge out a victory. Instead, the fight went to the judges, who scored it a majority draw, a result that left Roach and his team furious and the boxing world in an uproar. Was this an egregious error by the referee, or was there something more at play? Did the WBA have a vested interest in keeping Davis's undefeated record intact? As backlash mounted, the governing body found itself in an impossible position, and their eventual response only made things worse.
Very much in this fight in the championship rounds. Nice right uppercut, left hook. Ooh. Oh, another right hand, another right left by Roach. Davis fighting on even terms here in the 11th. Both of them have landed same amount of punches.
As the final bell rang and the fighters returned to their corners, the anticipation in the Barclays Center was electric. Fans, analysts, and even casual observers expected to hear Lamont Roach Jr.'s name announced as the victor. He had fought the fight of his life, dominating the later rounds, landing the more effective shots, and forcing Gervonta Davis into a defensive posture. Instead, what followed was a decision that left the boxing world stunned. The official scorecards read as follows. Judge Eric Marlinski scored the fight 115 to 113 in favor of Gervonta Davis. Judges Steve Weisfeld and Glenn Feldman both scored the bout 114 to 114, resulting in a majority draw. For Roach and his team, this was a gut punch. How could a fighter who had outlanded Davis in key rounds, backed him up, and controlled much of the second half of the fight not get the win?
Roach still talking to Tank. And Davis eats the body shot. And another left hook upstairs, right hand, left. Oh, but there's a counter left from Davis.
The decision is a majority draw.
Ninth round knee incident had already been highly questionable, but the final scorecards only deepened the controversy. Analysts call out the judges. Almost immediately, boxing experts took to the airwaves and social media to call foul. Teddy Atlas, one of the most respected voices in the sport, didn't mince words. This was a robbery in broad daylight. They didn't even try to hide it. Roach controlled the fight, landed the cleaner shots, and had Davis running. If that's not enough to win, then what are we even doing here? Atlas wasn't alone in his criticism. ESPN's Max Kellerman, DAZN's Sergio Mora, and Showtime's Paulie Malignaggi all expressed disbelief at the decision. Malignaggi pointed out a pattern of controversial scorecards benefiting high-profile fighters, saying, "If you're the A side in boxing, you get the benefit of the doubt every single time. This is why people don't trust the sport anymore."
Oh, whoa, whoa. Of course, another comparison I don't want to make to Mike Tyson, but...
Nah, that's crazy. That's what he do. He get dirty. He know that.
Even former champions chimed in. Terence "Bud" Crawford, one of the top pound-for-pound fighters in the world, tweeted, "Boxing is wild, man. Ain't no way Roach didn't win that fight." The backlash wasn't just limited to experts and fighters. Fans were outraged. Social media exploded with accusations of corruption, with hashtags like #robbery and #give Roach his win trending worldwide. Thousands of comments flooded the WBA's official accounts, demanding an explanation. If the WBA had hoped that the controversy would die down in a few days, they were sorely mistaken. Instead of easing tensions, the organization's response only added fuel to the fire. Despite overwhelming criticism, the WBA initially refused to review or overturn the result. Their stance was clear: judges' decisions are final, and there was no clear and convincing evidence to suggest an error. But fans weren't buying it, especially after a mysterious report defending the referee's decision appeared on the WBA's website. The article, which was quickly deleted, argued that Steve Willis had made the right call by not ruling Davis's knee as a knockdown. It stated, "From our perspective, Willis's decision was not unreasonable or unjustifiable. He ruled in real time that Davis had not been struck by a punch before going down, and therefore no knockdown should be recorded."
You know, obviously the part with the grease in the eye, that took on a life of its own, you know what I'm saying? That was a headline in the fight. One is, what did you think when he said that initially, just like the grease in the eye? But two is like, when you was in the fight, was there any point that you saw that? Like, did you see like him kind of...
Report also attempted to downplay the outrage, suggesting that the reaction was an overblown social media narrative rather than a legitimate dispute. But once fans and analysts caught wind of the article, the backlash intensified. Many saw it as an official attempt to justify what they believed was a blatant fix. WBA president tries to control the damage. As the pressure mounted, WBA President Gilberto Mendoza Jr. was forced to address the situation. In a hastily released statement, he distanced himself from the deleted report. "Please stop misleading the public. That article was written by a contributor to our website and does not represent the views of the WBA. He does not belong to any committee, nor does he have any influence or authority in our association." While Mendoza's statement seemed like an attempt to put the controversy to rest, it only raised more questions. If the article wasn't reflective of the WBA's stance, why was it published on their official website in the first place? And if Mendoza truly wanted to maintain fairness, why wasn't the WBA ordering a review of the fight? These inconsistencies only deepened suspicions that the WBA was protecting Davis.
Kind of messing with his eye, or did you have any indication that that was something that was bothering him?
No, see, and that's the thing. If you look at the whole fight, he was never bothering his eyes before
you jabbed him.
Before I jabbed him.
If a rematch wasn't ordered soon, the damage to the organization's credibility might be irreversible. As the debate raged on, some of the biggest names in boxing stepped forward to give their take on the situation. Terence Crawford calls it like he sees it, pound for pound king. Terence Crawford, never one to hold back, took to Twitter with a blunt response. "This some BS. If I take a knee after getting hit, that's a knockdown. How'd they let that slide?" His words echoed the frustration of many fighters who had lost faith in boxing's judging system. Teddy Atlas drops a harsh reality check boxing trainer, and analyst Teddy Atlas was even more direct, comparing the situation to past scandals. "We've seen this before. This is just like when Canelo got those insane scorecards against GGG. It's not about who wins, it's about who the promoters want to win, and that's killing this sport."
He got away with it, but the sport let him get away with it. There's nothing wrong with the fighters. It's the administrators of this sport that there's a lot wrong with. And there is. And you see it. And we shouldn't keep seeing it.
Atlas also pointed out that Davis's star power likely played a role in the decision. You think if Roach had the name Gervonta Davis on his shorts, this would have been a draw? No chance. Fans turn up the heat on social media. If there was any doubt about how seriously the public was taking this controversy, the numbers on social media erased them. Over 500,000 tweets in the first 48 hours after the fight. Hashtags number Justice for Roach and number WBA exposed trending worldwide. Thousands of calls to the WBA demanding a rematch.
It's got to be stopped. A referee, that is not in the rule book. You get hit with a jab. I know there was a second or two in between. Sometimes you see a delay, knockdown, whatever. The punch didn't hurt him. I understand that. But he got hit a jab, and then
Fans weren't just angry, they were demanding action. Many even compared this to some of the biggest robberies in boxing history, including Pacquiao Bradley III and GGG Canelo Farmpacquiao. Canelo, Ryan Garcia, and other fighters react. Even fighters outside of the division took notice. Canelo Alvarez, "I know what it's like to be in a controversial fight. Roach deserves a rematch." Ryan Garcia, "This is why boxing loses fans. You can't keep robbing fighters and expect people to keep watching." Shakur Stevenson, "Roach beat Tank. End of discussion." With some of the biggest names in the sport siding with Roach, the pressure on the WBA was immense. The longer they refused to acknowledge the controversy, the more their credibility suffered. At this point, one thing was clear. This wasn't going away anytime soon. Would the WBA be forced to order a rematch, or would they double down and risk alienating an entire generation of boxing fans? The decision they made next could change the sport forever. The seismic fallout from the controversial Gervonta Davis versus Lamont Roach Jr. fight has left the boxing world in turmoil. Davis, once seen as one of the sport's most untouchable stars, now finds himself without a license, without a clear path forward, and with his reputation hanging by a thread. In a shocking decision, the WBA officially seized Davis's boxing license, preventing him from competing until further notice. This ruling not only puts a rematch on hold, but also leaves Davis in an unprecedented situation, a fighter at the peak of his career being benched indefinitely due to an officiating scandal.
The second, 2 seconds later, he takes a knee. Guess what? I'm sorry. That constitutes a knockdown. After a punch somewhere around there, that's a knockdown. There is, again, we're not in football. There are no fair catches here. You know what I mean? And if it was, to your point...
Losing his license means Davis cannot step into the ring for any sanctioned bout until the issue is resolved. The suspension doesn't just impact his immediate future, it completely halts his momentum, delaying potential fights, sponsorship deals, and paydays. Davis, known for his undefeated record and highlight reel knockouts, was one of boxing's most marketable names. A fighter of his caliber being sidelined is a rare and damaging blow, not just to him, but to the sport as a whole. Without an active license, several immediate consequences follow. No sanctioned rematch against Roach. Even if one is ordered, it cannot happen until his license is reinstated. No potential super fights, including a rumored clash with Devin Haney or Shakur Stevenson. Uncertainty about his championship status. Could the WBA strip him of his title if the controversy deepens? While Davis has publicly downplayed the situation, insisting he's eager for a rematch, his ability to compete is now out of his hands. Beyond the Roach rematch, the suspension has also derailed what could have been one of the biggest crossover fights in combat sports. Gervonta Davis versus Jake Paul. Talks of an exhibition match between Davis and social media star-turned-boxer Jake Paul had been picking up steam, with both fighters exchanging words online. Paul, who has successfully drawn massive pay-per-view numbers, was reportedly in discussions to fight Davis in a highly lucrative summer event.
Jake Paul, someone you'd want to take on at one point?
Yeah, tell him this is my call out. Jake Paul, what up? What up, Jake Paul?
Judges at ringside, Max DeLuca and Benoit Roussel both scored about 100.
However, Davis's license suspension effectively kills the fight. Paul, who thrives on spectacle, is unlikely to wait indefinitely while Davis sorts out his legal and regulatory troubles. With Paul already considering other opponents, including potential fights against Canelo Alvarez or Nate Diaz, the opportunity may have passed for good. Will the WBA order a rematch? What's next for Roach? With the backlash mounting, many believe that ordering a rematch is the only way for the WBA to salvage its credibility. The governing body is in a delicate position. If they refuse a rematch, they risk losing even more credibility and alienating fans. If they order a rematch but keep Davis suspended, they create an indefinite waiting game. If they overturn the draw and award Roach the victory, they set a precedent for overruling judges' decisions after the fact.
And that, like, you know what I'm saying, that kind of landed. He kind of rolled with it, but after that, you can see him wipe his eye. And then, right after I hit him with the jab, you can see him wipe his other eye. So it's like, it was corresponding to which hand that I punched him with and exactly which eye. So it's like crazy for him to say.
Lamont Roach Jr., the situation is both a career-defining moment and an agonizing waiting game. He believes he deserves to be recognized as the rightful winner and has been vocal about the need for a rematch. But with Davis's license suspension, he's left with two possible paths. Wait for a rematch. If Davis is reinstated in the coming months, a rematch would likely be the biggest fight of Roach's career, offering him a chance to claim undisputed victory. Move on and chase another title. If the WBA drags its feet, Roach may be forced to look elsewhere for his next fight, possibly taking on another top contender while Davis sorts out his issues. Either way, Roach's stock has never been higher. Despite the controversy, his performance against Davis has earned him respect, and he now has the platform to demand bigger fights, whether or not the WBA grants him an immediate rematch.
It's grease in my eye. And I think even when he say that, you could see me, because I'm right beside him, you can see me like, but like, he wiped his face with a towel. You can't do that.
Right.
You can't do none of that. Right. That's a disqualification. You turned your back on the ref after you took a knee.
The boxing world deeply divided, one question looms over the sport. Will the WBA do the right thing and give Roach the victory he earned? Or will Davis's influence and star power keep him protected from the consequences of controversy? The outcome of this situation could reshape how boxing handles officiating controversies, the power of star fighters, and the role of governing bodies in ensuring fairness. If the WBA refuses to act, it could reinforce the perception that boxing is a sport where influence outweighs integrity. This isn't just about one fight, one decision, or one champion. It's about the future of boxing itself. So what do you think? Did Roach get robbed? Should the WBA force a rematch or overturn the decision? Drop your thoughts in the comments and let your voice be heard. Alright guys, for the best updates on boxing news, moments, events, and actions, subscribe to Knockout Updates and turn on notifications to never miss out on quality content, and check out our other videos. Until next time, peace out.